Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of analysing my best guesses from the GeoGuessr World League. I'm probably going to make about 3 episodes of this, and then also one, maybe 2 episodes of reacting to my worst guesses. um, yeah, I'm going to do roughly a third of my games in each video. So this video will cover the first 12 games. And I've picked out a guess or two from each game that I think was particularly good and worth analysing a little bit. So my first example is from the very first match that I played against Harrier. Um, Now, in retrospect, getting a 2-0 against Harrier was very good. Harrier had a bit of a rough start to the league. Uh, I certainly didn't expect how much he would continue to dominate in the latter portion of the league, but the man was on the grind, and it paid off. He had an amazing performance in the World League, but I got quite lucky in that I played him early before he really hit the gas. But yeah, this guess came at the end of the moving duel. As you can see, I'm down about 1,000 health, and I needed something big to come back. And that something big was a rush around. So as you can see, I have, well, Harrier had the blurred antenna there. If you notice, he zooms in, this antenna is blurred. And you can get that in a bunch of different places in Russia, but two of the main places that you can get are sort of between Kazan and Ufa and Samara in like a triangle, and then also Max South down near uh, the Caucasus Mountains. I can't believe I forgot the name of the mountain range. But yeah, so we have the blurred antenna in this round. I don't think I've checked the antenna at this point. I'm just moving along the road trying to find some information. And I get to a river, Bolshoi, something or other. It isn't very useful. I turn around, and thank goodness I turn around, because I happen to turn around and see a town entry sign which says Pestravka. Now I guess I had at some point. Did I? Yeah, I guess when I was moving along the road and then turned around. Yeah, I guess here I saw that the antenna was blurred. And I thought that it didn't look completely southern. Um, the two areas, there are kind of two areas that look quite similar in some ways. Here you've got the Max South here, which has this blurred antenna and is reasonably dry and somewhat hilly. This isn't the best example, but you also have south of Samara, kind of similar coverage. Like if I click on this road right near, obviously, like you can see kind of how the two look kind of similar in terms of the vegetation and the season. This coverage around Samara is a little more autumnal, um, but you know, they can look quite similar. I just got the vibe for south of Samara more and zoomed in and instantly saw Pestrovka pretty much, and that was that. Harrier didn't get the town entry sign and thought that it looked a little bit more like the Max South blurred antenna coverage. He told me afterwards that he wasn't really happy with his guess, but yeah, got the win there in the moving game, which was really good. Now, for whatever reason, the second guess that I wanted to show, which was in the no move game versus Harrier, didn't record. The next 15 minutes of this video are us playing the moving game, but it never moves off this screen. uh, so I have the dual summary here. Um, I won a no move game by remembering the Mongolia coverage that I had learned for a Coupe de la Ligue match several months ago. This is about a year ago now when I played this Coupe de la Ligue match. If I open up the location, uh, you'll see that there's two things that I use to narrow down this location. First of all, if you look down at the car, you'll see that there are kind of three stripes or three straps. There's these two on the left and one on the right, and that pattern is kind of unique to the area south of Baranurt. It's this road that goes down from Baranurt to Dariganga. But on top of that, you'll notice if you look at the coverage, it's getting quite dark and the sun is reasonably low in the sky. And if you check the road, because we could have technically kind of been anywhere on the road, you'll notice up north, it's like really, really, really dark. But you know, the closer you get to Dariganga, the lighter it is, and but like up north, it's like, you know, pretty much dusk. And actually, the coverage ends, I think, because they just didn't want to keep driving in the dark. So I guess they just set up the tent or something. And you know, as you travel further along the road, you can kind of coverage guess it based on the sun going down as you go up the road. But because it wasn't super dark, I knew that we were, you know, in the southern portion of the road, uh, and so I was able to try and line it up, and then made a pretty good guess. Where Harrier clicked didn't work with the straps, but this whole eastern region of Mongolia can look very similar, and the straps are a way that you can narrow that down. So that was a nice bit of knowledge coming in handy to win. You know, Mongolia Gen 3 isn't always the most handy, but it's a big country, and sometimes it really does come in clutch. So moving on then to my game versus Clement. This is probably my favorite guess from the whole World League in a way. This was such a cool moment. So I won the moving game in a bit of a scummy way. Essentially, Clement's internet was really bad, and he ended up sending Mexico and Argentina in the second round of the moving game. I think if his internet was working better and he didn't get panicked, then yeah, he absolutely wouldn't have missed the country, and who knows what would have happened. But I won the moving game, and now I'm trying to win the no-move game. And Clement is an incredible no-move and NMPZ player, being super highly ranked on competitive leaderboards, and I was really, really, really worried. And as you can see, I'm down about 2,000 health. And then this rush around spawns in, and I see this sign, and I read it backwards. If you look at it backwards, it says Olenogorsk. Now, also, if you can see on Clement's screen, the top of that sign says Sochi, which is miles and miles and miles away from Olenogorsk. But I read the sign backwards. He's reading Sochi and the advert. I've read the sign saying Olenogorsk, and I knew where Olenogorsk was. I knew it was in Murmansk, and I locked it in. He then tries to read the Olenogorsk, but I think he's still a bit confused by Sochi, and then also trying to go, hang on, this landscape does not look like Sochi at all. It looks really northern. And that was actually enough to win the game. I was super pumped about that. Reading Cyrillic backwards was it was very cool to do. One of the cool things that you could actually take out of this round, apart from me just knowing where Olenogorsk was the fact that there's a lot of towns named Gorsk in the Murmansk area. So I suspect, even if I hadn't heard of Olenogorsk specifically, um, I think I would have been able to find it. Like you have Snezhnogorsk, Olenogorsk, Monchegorsk. I think there's a few others. Um, but yeah, that Gorsk or just Orsk suffix there's a few towns like that in Murmansk. So combined with the landscape, like there aren't as many. There's a few. There is Sosnogorsk near where Syktyvkar, but um, yeah, there's quite a few in and around Murmansk Oblast. So, but yeah, I had actually heard of Olenogorsk before, and so I was able to find it pretty much instantly. I knew it was in Murmansk Oblast. Okay, next we have my game against Skillishu. Um, and this was an unfortunate game, lost to round limit, but this guess in the no move game was pretty cool. I took the moving game and came really, really, really close to taking the no move game. But yeah, as you can see, uh, we have a red car. It shows up for like all of about a frame. Let me see if I can uh, pause it. Yeah, so you can see the red car in the bottom here. We're in Russia, and red car shows up in a number of different places. But with this summer coverage and these birch trees, there's heaps of birch trees, and it looks more northern. Again, it's difficult to describe, but there's a very distinct northern vibe that you can pick up on if you play a lot of Russia a lot. There's a lot of red car in particular in and around Surgut. You may remember the famous Surgut sand. You can actually kind of see it on Skillishu's screen. The soil here in and around these cars is really sandy. It's this light or almost white, very sandy soil. So that sort of confirms that we're in and around the Surgut area. But yeah, there's actually a lot of places. So from like Surgut to Nizhny Narodovsk and actually all the way up to Salakar, that's all red car. So an urban environment can often be quite hard to region guess. Um, and yeah, urban Russia can often be a nightmare. So I'm like, well, it looks like a biggish city. Let me try and line the grid angle up. So I first try Sagut, and it's close. The grid angle is close, but you can see it doesn't quite line up. The angle is just a little too vertical. So then I go, okay, well, let's try another city. Let's try Nizhny Vartovsk. Um, and the road angle lines up perfectly. And so I'm like, wow, this could be it. Um, and so I click a road, and Skillishu was checking a bunch of other cities that had red car coverage as well. I lock in Nizhny Vartovsk. He's checking Tomsk. I think he ended up going in Novosibirsk. Yeah. And I got the city right. No move in Russia. Would have been really nice if that happened in higher multis because I went on to lose that no move game and then the NMPZ, which was really 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 unfortunate. Um, but yes, sometimes these things happen. Um, Now moving on to the next game, which was my game against Armani. I actually lost the moving game in this one, and then went on to win the no move game. And this guess is from the first round of the no move game, where I had a uh, really really cool guess in Quebec. So you can barely see it, but on this green sign here, it says chemin and a road. So chemin is obviously French for road, so it's a bilingual sign. And there's a few different places where you can get bilingual signs in Canada. You can kind of get them dotted all over, especially like in national parks, they'll have bilingual signs. But on a road sign like this, like just a typical green road sign, you get them a lot in New Brunswick. And you can also get them a lot in and around the Quebec-Ontario border. um, because obviously it's a border between English-speaking Ontario and French-speaking Quebec. Again, there's a maintenance and then the French below it. So there's a bunch of bilingual signs, and I'm looking at these and I go, you know what? Uh, there's a decent chance that this could be the Ontario-Quebec border, especially given that there's a massive river. So I decide to start scanning there, um, and I literally just zoom into the 5K. um, yeah, I was, well, actually, no. I forget what happened in this round. Yeah, no, I didn't zoom into the 5K, but then the very next thing that I looked at was the 5K. um, and that was a very cool way to start off the no move game and served me really well. So yeah, the bilingual science coming in clutch there. It was just a matter of then lining up the bridge and the road angle. Um, so that's that game. Then the next game that I have is versus Castroller. And I popped off in this game, so I have a bunch of guesses to show from this game. The first one is from the very first round of the moving game, where I had a really efficient 5K. Um, I saw that there were mountains east, and was kind of zooming into the area north of Wellington, and then because there's a lot of mountains east, and then had Leven. And I thought for a second that Leven was in and around Nelson, but then remembered where it was and then scanned for the park because I remembered that at the very start we had Playford Park. So now when I get Leven, I'm scanning for Playford Park, and I found it. It's a big green area near where I clicked and got 10 meters there, which was a really nice way to start off the duel. I went on to win that moving duel, um, and then uh, the almost won the no move game. Uh, I had been practicing Botswana actually. And then I almost went on to win the no move game. I'd been practicing Botswana a lot in the lead up to this match for no reason in particular other than it was a country that I decided to focus on for the week. And it paid off big time, almost, because I recognized this road. VA9 Instasent Kasane, and to be fair, his guess makes a lot of sense. You can see this really sandy road. If I show you what the coverage looks like in and around Kasane, there is this road that goes south of. Actually, no, it's not this one, but it's. Oh yeah. There's a few roads in and around Kasane that are really sandy like this. And so you can, or like, something like this. This looks, like if you look at this and then compare this to uh, the location, you know, they look really, 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 really similar. Like, spot the difference, you know? Um, but I I think the big difference here is mainly just the soil color. The soil in and around Kasane is a little bit redder, and also this road angle perfectly matched the road that I knew that went through the middle of this national park, and that was essentially a 5K and 3,100 damage. And so now we're heading at around 10, uh, and I've got a 4,000 health lead. I'm almost about to 2-0 V89. I'm so nervous at this point. As you can see, I'm absolutely losing it. I can't believe that there's a chance that I can 2-0 V89, but it all comes down to the last round, and the last round was Kazakhstan, a country that V89 is really, really, really good at. He instantly locked Aktau. Meanwhile, I feel like it could be one of the two eastern cities, like it could be Aktau or Atirau, and I decided on Atirau. And honestly, I think I could have hedged the two and lost, but he did just enough damage. Like if I hedge between the two, I don't lose, but I lost, and that was really annoying. And I was completely devastated because now I have to play an NMPZ game against one of the best NMPZ players in the world, and I've gone from fighting from being extreme like this close to a 2-0 to now quite likely I could lose 1-2. And that brings me to the final guess from this Castroller game, which was the very last round of the NMPZ, which was this location. And this is a bit of a 50-50. I had the same 50-50, I think, as Castroller. I had a Portugal-Brazil 50-50. Because both are countries where you can get these plantations of really big, like tall, thin eucalyptus trees. Like there's this location in Brazil, and then like if I click into a random location in northern Portugal, I guarantee you it'll have a eucalypt plantation. Boom, see? Exactly. Literally random location, and there's, a ton of these tall, thin eucalypts. So it's a 50-50 because you can absolutely also get this stuff in Brazil. Like, I'm probably not going to have the same luck. Yeah, okay. Third time's the charm, surely. Like, if I click here, not quite. But, like, there are, suffice to say, a bunch of eucalyptus plantations in and around Brazil. And now, of course, I can't find any. Okay, I guess I'm just not finding any. But uh, my point still stands. There are a bunch of eucalyptus plantations in both countries, and it's a 50-50 between the two. The soil's also weirdly light for Brazil, which was making me really nervous. This is like a really hard location. But what swayed me towards Brazil over Portugal was this foliage that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. This really green, I don't know what sort of plant it is, but this really green plant just didn't look Portuguese to me. It looked really tropical. But I was not confident. Was really debating between Portugal and Brazil, but I decided to go for a southern Brazil guess. Castroller zooms into Portugal. I think Debre called Portugal in the chat, and but then a couple of other people called Brazil, and Castroller is debating Brazil, leaves it in Portugal, and I won, which was huge to win the NMPZ because that's the difference between winning and winning the match and taking an extra point, and then only getting 1 point, which would have been really unfortunate. Then in the same week, I had my match against Yannick, and this went to NMPZ, and we had this crazy moment. If you're ever wondering why there's a round in Northern Marianas Islands in the spreadsheets where there was a bunch of damage, it's this one. So you have this blur down the bottom, this Gen 3 US blur, and you can get that in kind of three places. You can get it in Guam, you can get it in Northern Marianas Islands, and you can get it in Puerto Rico. And this is just a 50-50-50 between the three of them. But what I thought, and I think my suspicion is still correct, is that the plant that you can kind of see just there is one of the flowering trees that's actually the national or kind of national plant of Northern Marianas Islands. If I zoom in to Northern Marianas Islands and click somewhere, and of course where I click doesn't have an example of them. Surely it cannot be that hard to find. This is insane that I can't find an example. Where? Okay, like these trees here flower with these red flowers. I can't believe that there isn't an example somewhere that I can just... Okay, here we are. So these trees have all of these red flowers. They are the national plant of the Northern Marianas Islands, and they're quite a distinct tree in terms of their shape and their foliage. And so my theory, which I think was right, was that this tree that you can kind of see in the middle here and to the side, like that tall tree, is one of those trees. And I think I'm right about that. So yeah, the vegetation looked really like NMI to me. And actually, you can use those trees if you're ever playing NMPZ and you can't check for the car meta, like you can't check for the Guam roof rack. Often in NMI, you can use those trees to distinguish between there and Guam because they don't appear in Guam, which is actually really clutch. Anyway, oh yes, of course, that's the other place where you could get this blur. You could get it in USVI. So Yannick locked in USVI, I locked in NMI, and I won the NMPZ game. So that was a great way to pick up some points, some nice vegetation meta there, which is always really cool. Then we have Moving Game versus Kratzu. This was just a nice 5K, or pretty much in Oman. Oman coverage had just got released at this point. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know. I don't think I even really knew where all the coverage went. But I'm just sort of looking around. I don't think I got any info in this round. There's this sign which says Hi Al Rakbi, but that just doesn't appear anywhere on the map. And I'm just looking for a spot with, mountains, like small-ish mountains kind of all around. Just trying to line up the mountains. And I decide that this spot here looks pretty good with the road angle. But I wasn't confident about it. But it ended up being essentially the 5K. So that was a nice way to pick up some damage. Obviously, not very much, but was still cool to pretty much 5K an Oman round just after the coverage had come out. Now, I don't have any guesses to show from my games against Debray or Zigzag because, to be honest, I did not play well at all in either of those games. They kind of just completely stomped me. But I do have a guess to show from my game against Radu, which I was playing it not at my home setup. I had extremely slow internet. As you can see, he's just flawlessing me through 3 rounds. But even on slow internet, I think that this round kind of showcases my specialty, which is scanning for things and using info to 5K. So we've got an Ohio state route shield. It's just the shape of the state of Ohio, which is pretty memorable. So I'm just scanning for Sharpsburg. I find it, and then I'm trying to use the roads to line up. We've got the 377. I know we're joining that, going to the west, and I ended up being only about 600 meters away, which was, nice to get essentially the 5K against Radu. Um, but yeah, he proceeded to absolutely stomp me for the remainder of the game. I got 2-0'd, which was not amazing. Now, the same day, I played OceanMan, and he also 2-0'd me. The moving game was kind of a multi-merchant, and then the no-move game I just didn't play well. Uh, but this round in the moving game was really good. So we've got a 6-3 area code, which is the state of Tocantins in Brazil. And I don't have any info. He just locks in Tocantins, but I don't know which town it is. And at the very last second, I can see a thing that says Taguatinga, TO, and TO is short for Tocantins. That's a state abbreviation for Tocantins. So I know that generally, whenever you see a province abbreviation like this, um, the thing that precedes it will almost always be the town. So I have 8 seconds to scan Tocantins for Taguatinga, and I find it. It's a pretty big town, but nonetheless, was nice to find that even playing on the slow internet. And with that, that is all of my guesses from the all of my best guesses from the first 12 weeks of the World League. I will record and upload the next 2 episodes fairly shortly. Um, but yeah, I was reasonably happy with all of these guesses. Not always happy with how I played in the matches, but it was nice. Generally, even in the matches that I lost and played badly, I often had 1 or 2 games or 1 or 2 really, really good guesses that I'm still quite proud of. So, yeah, as always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.